And you can see we've broken it down by days along the left-hand side. Day one, they're doing all this. The only difference between this and the calendar is I'm not saying at what times during the day they're doing these things, right? Day two, they're doing this. This is all editable as well. Day three, they're doing this. Onboarding further. I do, as much as I've talked about the desire to have a by when date and not have checklists at the same time, I do think it is important to have a checklist. Now, a checklist can be ran alongside of an onboarding calendar because we must have that by when, right? We must have a calendar that tells them what they're going to do during the day at different times throughout the day, which is why we always use an agent onboarding calendar for brand new agents. However, there are many situations where, but we must run that with a checklist so that we can make sure that all of the key tasks that they have for their development are getting done. In addition to that, though, there will be certain agents that, especially seasoned agents that are onboarding, maybe with a new company, a new real estate team, that have already been spoiled and have developed bad habits. Maybe they already have their SOI together too. Maybe they already have their SOI database in a CRM that's systematically being contacted. So they don't need to be held accountable to some of those things. Maybe they've taken a lot of courses or learned a lot of these things and don't need to shadow a buyer consultation because they've got a lot of experience too. So maybe they don't need the by whens of a calendar showing them what they need to do each second of the day, or they deem themselves too seasoned, too important to be held to that type of schedule. I mean, you can imagine if you've got 5 or 10 years experience in the business, going to a new company and they're going to tell you exactly what you need to do from 8:30 to 5 o'clock, you may not be up for that. May not have time for that. May not be available in your schedule. You may think you're above that. A lot of seasoned agents that way. So then you just give them a checklist and let them pick the by when. But that's very hard. You still need to meet with them weekly to hold them accountable to it, because the success list with giving someone a checklist of things they need to get done for their onboarding in the first 30 days, first week, or however, is extremely low. I mean, it's like less than 1% of agents will follow a checklist on their own. You need to hold them accountable if you want them to do it, which is kind of the purpose of having one. Okay? So let's take a look at what that looks like. And I call this my first quarter checklist because it's a quarter of the year. It's about 3 months. It's, depending on how many months you've got there. It's your first quarter of the year. So it's a quarter. So whatever, about a 3-month period. And this is the first 30 days of that period. And you can see we've broken it down by days along the left-hand side. Day one, they're doing all this. The only difference between this and the calendar is I'm not saying at what times during the day they're doing these things, right? Day two, they're doing this. This is all editable as well. Day three, they're doing this. Day four, they're doing this. Day five, and it breaks down each day of all 30 days of what they should be doing. And again, you're going to want to change this, right? Then we might test them at the end and do some script practice, some systems training, just to make sure they're doing it and just not skimming over it, right? How many shadows have they gone on? How many times have they shadowed a buyer consultation, shadowed an open house, shadowed someone on a listing appointment, shadowed an inspection, things like that. How many times they trained on our internal systems, right? And again, all editable here. You have different things you train on, every different organization. Then we get into 60 day, 90 days, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, all the way through, okay? So that breaks that down. And suddenly you're in a position where you can hold them accountable a little bit more loosely for someone that might have a little bit more experience than we're going to hold them accountable to on the calendar. Now, again, I want to make sure you understand that with seasoned agents, the checklist is there, but it's really, to me, window dressing than when compared to a calendar. I mean, I've seen people love to have these to-do lists and these 30, 60, 90 type plans, or first 100-day plans, or like mine, a first quarter checklist plan, or whatever you want to call them. But unless you meet with them and hold them accountable, the seasoned agents are just not going to do it. Now, if you can, really try to push towards this calendar for brand new agents right off the bat that shows them when they're going to do each of these items each day. That is crucial. Okay. It is much more effective if you give them a by when and then meet with them at the end of the week, like I showed you at 10:30 each day. That's much more powerful. Okay. Much more powerful, because that by when is everything. You will see if something's in your calendar, you are much more likely to do it than when it sits on a to-do list. And the same is true in leadership. I love the idea, absolutely love the idea of a to-do list working, but it just doesn't on its own. So try to push the calendar when you can, the to-do list for yourself, for your agents. Be really, really, really selective when you use them, because it just tends to be a have to do someday list. Okay? But very important. So, because you do need it with seasoned agents, you do, because they're just not going to do what you say when you say every single day. Okay?